we know that we don't have to age. There's a lot of people that don't age that can reverse age. So I don't subscribe to that. I've just separated myself from those belief systems, not just in my mind, but in my consciousness. I just don't agree with them. If people just flowed, if they knew who they were and they aligned with themselves, and then they intended and they went from like they wanted from that space, shit gets so easy. Is my desire for this amount of money really because I want the money? What's the intention? Like, why do you want it? What are you going to do with it? And what are my blocks to achieving it?
Welcome back to the Fit and Frugal podcast. I am your host, Tawni. You can find me on IG at Tawni Stores. Here today I have with me Dr. Leslie.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm still giggling.
Such an honor to have your presence here.
Thank you. We had a little bit of a riot before we started recording, so we have to calm the downness here.
Let's get sterile, so tell me about yourself.
Well, where shall I begin? I don't know. I'm Dr. Leslie. I have a doctorate in nursing practice. Nurse practitioner, been practicing for a gazillion years, stepped back. I'm from Canada originally, moved here to the US, specifically here, Las Vegas in 2006, I think, 17 years ago.
Yeah,
18 in August.
Math checks out, yep.
Yep, something, or maybe it doesn't.
Something like
whatever.
That. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm Canadian, which is kind of fun being Canadian in the United States. Even though I've been here for so long, I still embrace the Canadianness in me, I think.
Yeah.
It's cannot be beaten out of me.
Is there a lot of other Canadians here? Do you have a community here?
No, but they do come down a lot. Canadians are everywhere. Whenever I'm driving around, I'll see Alberta license plates. Alberta is where I'm from. It's the province right above Montana. So there's a lot of snowbirds, a lot of people from Alberta specifically come here. So I do run into them all the time, but I don't know if there's really a community. There's not a chat group. Maybe there is a chat group. I don't know. Or some sort of
a emotional support group.
Emotional support for the Canadians. Yeah, especially after this fucking hockey game. Oh my God, the Golden Knights beat out my Oilers. I can't even. It's a sore subject. I can't even watch it.
Yeah.
It's
it's okay to cry, I don't have any tissues, but you can use this plant.
No, it was totally sore. So there were a bunch of, Canadian people on social media and stuff that we were kind of following the Oilers and the Knights and everything. So when they lost, we were like, oh, boo. But
I don't see Canadians being very mad. They're just so nice. Any Canadians I've met overall, they're so fucking nice. I don't see them really.
Darn, that was life crushing.
Yeah, I don't see them flipping a table or
No, not really. But it's changed post pandemic. So we were talking a little bit about this before too, how before we were very calm, peaceful people. We always came in peace. We were we were apologizing. I'm so sorry for everything. Oh, I'm sorry for just our existence. I'm
sorry for breathing.
I'm sorry.
Should I not breathe here?
Really, I still catch myself sometimes saying sorry. What did I say? No one's even in the room. And I'm saying sorry. I bumped into nothing and I'm saying sorry.
To the ghost cock.
It's the ghost cock. Yeah, for sure. Garbling that stuff. Do not do that. Do not garble ghost cock, for sure. We will talk about that later. No, we are very nice people, but with the pandemic and everything that went down with the government, and I don't know if you're following some of the riots and whatnot, they're not going to be happy people anymore. It's you poked them for too long, too hard. And it's kind of they peek behind the Wizard of Oz curtain and they saw the goblin there. And they're really not going to be that nice, I don't think, in the next, it's happening now.
Yeah.
But they really feel it's communist, it's just not a good place to be anymore. So I don't feel that they're going to be really friendly, especially this next generation. It's just the complete dynamic has changed.
Yeah.
So, they're going to become American.
Yeah.
Angry Americans like the rest of us, right? Revolting and entitled and whatever else. It's
terrible
good.
diets.
All good things.
Etc. And have terrible diets, etc. Yeah.
Terrible diets.
Yeah. You guys have free healthcare up there. I don't know.
Is it free though? That's the thing.
Nothing is free, right?
It's very interesting you say that because when I first came here, I did my master's program for the nurse practitioner program. they put me in my very first practicum in a managed care organization, which is basically you have one health insurance and then you go there also for your health care. It's not like a separate health insurance and you can go wherever, like a PPO. It's like an HMO type thing. Mm-hmm. And it was the most similar to the Canadian health system because it's like kind of free-ish, but it's all like under one house. They thought it would be the easiest way for me to go from this completely one payer system, one healthcare system to kind of like one healthcare system-esque situation. What really tripped me up, my very first day was my pediatric rotation. I walk into the clinic, never been into an American healthcare clinic before, and I'm like, what is that doing there? It was a cash register. I'm like, you have to pay? What? I don't understand. You have to pay something for healthcare? And they were like, yeah, they explained the whole thing. And then the insurance companies, I'm like, oh my God, no wonder 30% of your healthcare costs are lost in administration. Like it's just the administration is like a huge burden to the American system. So yeah, back in Canada, it's free, at least in Alberta. It's free because it's a very oil-rich province. So we don't have any premium. But you throw your shoulder out or you get into an injury, it's 6 months before you can get an MRI. Like my brother, literally, he was a bodybuilder and whatever, but he literally stepped off a curb and coughed at the same time, and he dislocated his shoulder. Like he was just like hanging like this at his shoulder. It was totally disgusting.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. That's really funny.
The stars align. He's like, step, and then it's just out of his socket. And the poor guy, like he could not get an MRI for 6 months. So he went to the ER, they popped it back in. And he was in and out of like popping his shoulder out. Like he would just cough or lift a weight or like swing it wrong. And the fucking thing would just pop out of its socket. So he was learning how to like put it back in himself. It's so painful when you dislocate a shoulder. It is so painful. So, I mean, it's free, but here you complain of a headache or you get whatever. It's like you get an MRI right now, maybe 3 days wait.
Yeah.
So they have to control the costs. It's not a great place. Now, post-pandemic, forget it. When I was working as a chief operating officer before the pandemic, I was developing an international medical tourism division to this one organization. And we were going to bring Canadians here for spine and neck and brain surgeries or whatever. It was a 1.5 year wait.
Oh, really?
For a necessary joint surgery. A 1.5 year wait. Post-pandemic, it's quadrupled in time. Like it's ridiculous because they couldn't do surgeries in Canada for the longest time because of the COVID thing. Everything shut down.
Like because you can't touch other people kind of thing?
Yeah, apparently you can catch COVID by blinking at someone from across the room or whatever because they had the vaccine mandates and all the craziness, which I will not comment about.
Well, you're masked up. The person's asleep under like anesthesia, right?
But you're breathing on them and you have to be all up in their space. So whatever. I'm not even going to go there. We're not going to talk about COVID. It did not happen in my book. It happened, but it didn't happen. I don't want to even go there. Yeah. But no, so the system's been very, very burdened. So yes, it's free, but you'll die waiting. Yeah. Or you'll be super crippled. So like in my brother's instance, he rehabilitated himself. So once he got to the surgeon and the whole thing, he basically rehabilitated himself. So there is something to say about having the weights because in the US, we're like instant gratification. We want shit now. Now, yesterday. I want it yesterday.
Give you money. I want it now.
I want it before I know I want it. Kind of thing. And so people then they want to go and get whatever they can. They want the easy way out. So in Canada, that is a great thing only if you heed the time and use it wisely. And you're just like, okay, maybe I should lose weight so that my knees aren't fucked up so that I can walk and do the things I want to do instead of just getting surgery and they're just going to be banged up. So
and be stuck in the pharmaceutical chain, kind of like just let them circulate your entire health system within the system, right? That's
like once you're in, you're like in.
You're in. That's how they keep
you can get out. It's like the Matrix. You can eject yourself, but it takes a lot. You have to be very, very strong and you have to, it's possible. Yeah. I've seen it done. It can be done.
Yeah. No, I do believe in a thing called like self-healing.
Yes.
It's because it's such an underrated kind of like woo-woo topic that most people don't really bring up is because of what you just said. It's the instant gratification. It's the conditioning of being dependent on a medical system that isn't really healthcare. Like I call it sick care, is because they only treat you when you're sick and they kind of keep you sick, right? To a certain amount.
Absolutely.
But healthcare isn't really healthcare here. You know, like wealth care is healthcare. So if you really take care of your health, you technically would never need to go to the doctor. Besides, you know, if you're going to get LASIK or something, you can't really just heal your eyeball, right? But
I mean, I really do think you can. I mean, I really do.
Yeah.
I've one of those people who sort of ejected myself out of the Western medicine framework, and many of the common sort of commonly accepted ways of being and doing in the world. So I 100,000% believe we can regenerate ourselves, and we can youth and we can heal. I mean, I've worked with different practitioners over the years, naturopaths, a couple different kinds, and just having gone through my own sort of ascension, my own awakening, and sort of being this man scientist with my own body and my own mind, and really connecting with what is real and knowing what isn't. Yeah. Right? Everything starts from within, from the consciousness. I keep touching the microphone. Sorry. My producer's going to give me shit. So everything starts within. Everything's vibrational, right? And so with enough effort and enough interconnection and awareness, and being able to really separate yourself from what you see and you think is real and what you know is real and what your intention is, you can create anything. Nothing is impossible. Yeah. And I'm at the stage in my evolutionary process where I'm life hacking my physical body. So I did this through my mind. So when I was a kid, I suffered from a lot of anxiety and obsessive compulsive type things. And later on into depression, it was just like really horrible. And I went through this really crazy sort of spiritual awakening, if you will. I don't even like to use the word spiritual because people get so like, the word spiritual and soul, like I'm melting. Yeah, it's like, so because there's these really frou-frou people who make it, who bastardize it, right? Yeah. It's really about our interconnection and being aware of who we are authentically. So when I kind of became in touch with that authentic part of myself and really started to understand the power that I have as an individual, my consciousness, and harnessing the power of my mind in light of being authentically me, like my godliness, my conscious, my
true divine,
whatever you want to call it, everything fucking changes. Then life starts, you get to start being sovereign, and the world starts reflecting what you are. Versus the other way around, where you're stuck in the outside dictating what your life is. You start being able to create or manifest or reflect back to you what is here. And that is also what we can do in our physical body. So I know the standard Western medicine would think that I'm full of shit and it doesn't work and get out of here, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. Like they have their understanding, and there's a place for it. I mean, sometimes, if something is happening, you have a heart attack or whatever, yes, we need it. But I do believe that as we evolve as people and we really want to regenerate, we can. It's not easy. Yeah. But I 100,000% believe we have that capacity and power.
Yeah. Because every time I say that, I think the paradigm kind of shifts to the conversation of like, transformative work isn't really just internal, right? Like everything is on a frequency. And once you kind of tap into, like when you talk to people about 432 hertz, what you're currently vibrating at, or if you tell people like, hey, I'm a Reiki master, like I practice energy work, the eyes kind of shift and the conversation changes. It's like, oh, so you buy rocks and, like.
Right. I'm a hippie frolicking,
not a care in the world. And you sit with the moon and all of that
Right.
stuff. But lunation has another powerful essence to recharge us in a way that I think the moon hits us differently here too in Vegas. I don't know if you feel the same kind of essence, but self-healing is something that I truly believe in, is because that's kind of how I felt like I was able to pull myself out of that existential crisis that I was in, right? It's because the power of your mind,
right?
Really, it's where you live, it's where you reside, but your body's nothing else but a skin bag. It's everything that holds you of your humanness, but it's not your consciousness. It's on a soul level that you do the deep work at.
That's right.
Yeah.
The body is an expression. It's our vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not humans that have a spirit. We're souls or spirits or energy having a physical experience. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
So everything starts at the vibration level. Everything starts inside. And harnessing the power of the mind is really, really important, but we also have to go even beyond that. We have to connect with what's authentic inside, because the mind can only do so much. We could want something so bad and never be able to manifest it if it's not truly in a line. If your soul or your essence is like, bitch, you are supposed to do this. Like, you have to go there. And you're like, no, but I want to go this way. You will be able to get there so far, but you won't have the fulfillment, or you'll make the success, or you'll fail, or whatever. You're always trying to get to where you want to go. So for people to have the most fulfillment and the most success and the most abundance and joy and peace and love and bliss and all of those magical, beautiful things that can happen when you really are aligned, it's aligning with your authentic self. Like, it's really being and becoming who you are and aligning with that, and then creating or manifesting and intending from there. Then everything flows. Then it's like you get everything you want, because you actually are wanting what is true and real. You're not forcing. It's not going to take as much effort. Like, if people just flowed, if they knew who they were and they aligned with themselves, and then they intended and they went from like they wanted from that space, shit gets so easy. Like, it's so much easier. Maybe not completely easy, but the flow is there. It's just, life is just more pleasant, because when you come into that space, you are at peace. You feel the love, because you are love, right? So then what do you need of? What are you striving for? What is the ego pulling at then? You don't have it.
Yeah. I think a lot of suffering comes from the root of it. It's like greed, because we want what we can't have, is because we're forcing manifestation, is because people are always thinking manifestation is sitting, wishing, waiting, wanting a thing, right? But really, it's harnessing like what it is that your divine wants. It's a lot of people, I feel like, it's just neglect like their authentic self too. Like, I don't know if you feel that.
Yes.
But it's kind of hard to explain, you know, like speaking as like, I say like two goddesses, like we're sitting in each other's presence and there's no competition, there's no ego. And once you kind of go on like a vibrational match, like things just kind of flow. And I think people just kind of force that into greed, into power, into money, is because they want abundance in materialism, but I don't think they want it on a soul level.
Right.
It's because they're like, I'm deserving of all these things, but their energy doesn't really say that.
Right.
You know, they're not really pulling. They're trying to grab and like take from what's not theirs.
Right. And it's because it's not authentic, it's ego driven, and the ego is conducting itself and wanting from a place that is hurt. And the ego does not have any real positive intent, I believe, because it's very primal. It's so, there's so much that is being poured into the ego, all of the subconscious crap, all of all the conditioning, everything that we're exposed to around us is just telling us what we want. And so our egos are just telling, that's what you want, that's what you need, this is what everyone is doing, so this is what you want. And so from that, there's lack, there's not enoughness, I have to do this because I want to impress so-and-so. All of that is not authentic. It's not from a place of love. So it's going to be challenging. You might be able to get it with enough determination, but something is going to suffer because there is no flow from the ego. You could absolutely create billions of dollars from an ego desired place, but you will 100% suffer in your relationships, in your physical, or something is going to fall apart because you just can't manifest that type of greatness from the ego without something breaking. If it's authentic, then it'll flow, it'll be easy, and everything will be in harmony.
Yeah. So everyone talks about a lot of like abundance mindset and how to rewire your brain, like what you're saying, it's a lot of fear and control based. It's all amygdala based, right? It's because it's the old primitive brain, because we're not really tapping into like the full prefrontal. Like I did a lot of reading with like Joe Dispenza and all that stuff back in the day. And I didn't really realize the full potential of like the human brain and how it can actually rewire itself. And like neuroplasticity, it's like an entire, I wouldn't say like books on books on books on like the capacity of how we can optimize like the way we operate just as individual human beings, just to read better, just to remember better, just to function better and like have healthier relationships. It kind of starts with like the relationship with self, and like what you do in your body kind of manifests itself into the world, and you know, that into relationship with others too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Abundance is a funny thing because abundance can be anything abundant. It can be all things abundant. It can be abundance of love or abundance of peace, or most people want abundance of money, right? Because as much as we want to deny it, money is the currency right now that we use to live and be material in this world. It's part of this like construct that we live in.
Yep.
But it too is also, it's just energy, right? It's just a creation of your vibe, right? So, but yeah, people want abundance usually for the wrong reasons. And it's generally from the place of not wanting to be broke or wanting to have more for another reason. Oftentimes it's to fill. It's not always necessarily authentic.
Yeah.
So people have a hard time manifesting it because they have all of these blocks and restrictions, and there's just so much. It's like spirituality and meditation, money like falls into that same category, and love. They're like taboo. There's so much negative charge around money because over our entire human existence, people have stolen, they've been beheaded, they've been like, all sorts of horrible things happen when you've either, you know, stolen money or you've, you know, been stolen from if you had too much. Like there's so much collective charge with it that it's just, people are fucked up when it comes to money. They just are energetically, vibrational, whether they believe in past lives or not. It's just, it is a fucking mess.
Yeah.
And so everyone wants it because that's the currency, but there's so much negative charge that people have. They're holding inside their energy bodies that needs to be shifted out of. So you're trying to go there with your ego, but if you have all of these blocks in your chakras, if you believe in that, or your morphogenetic field, or, you know, wherever you believe it, there is something being held there. You need to work through it, you know, until you do that inner work and you can really kind of hash it out and understand the beliefs and what your subconscious is saying and what's being held in your physiology and all the things, you're not going to be able to get over it. There are some people who are born into these wealthy families. They don't have any of those blocks because they were never raised in it. But the majority of us on the planet have been challenged with, you know, money or abundance or whatever. And they just can't get over it because they're going there with the mind.
Yeah. Mind
control, our own control of our mind is really important, but it is deeper. It has to be aligned too, right? And again, it's going in and figuring out where those blocks are, where those sensitive places. Is my desire for this amount of money really because I want the money? What's the intention? Like, why do you want it? What are you going to do with it? And what are my blocks to achieving it? Like, those are questions people need to ask themselves. Because oftentimes it isn't necessarily the money that they want. It's the feeling they want the money to give them. That's where people get lost.
The freedom, but they don't know.
Or the freedom. And freedom maybe isn't the, you know, $5 million that you want. Maybe you really need a lot less to give you that sense of freedom. But they just slap a number out there or something because that's what they think that they want.
It's more quantifiable.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But, you know, when manifesting in abundance or anything really, I always teach this as connecting with the feeling, like becoming the feeling of what you want. So if you're wanting to create, you know, abundance, whatever that looks like, you want to get into like that still space. I don't like to use the word meditation. It's a profanity in my wheelhouse now because everyone hates meditation. Everyone has done it and they say it doesn't work. So just getting still, getting quiet and still inside, and really feel what it would feel like to have the money or the abundance that you want, and see what visions come up and see what life would be like, and connect to the feeling and grow that feeling so that it's vibrating in every cell of your body. That shit will manifest for you. And then let go of what the dollar looks like and just be that and embody that and have that image, and then let it go. And that's the thing people forget too, is they forget to just back off. And I struggle with that too. I'm struggling with that right now. Yeah. In fact, in one area of my life, I'm like pushing you, push, because I'm a type A. I type A all over myself, type A personality all over myself sometimes. And I go, oh God, I'm trying too hard. You need to let go. One of my dear friends told me his whole perspective of this is there's energy in inactivity. Because when you finally release, when you push too hard, you're creating resistance. So when you just release and you let it go, that's when the magic happens. When you redirect your attention or you just stop, it's like oftentimes you finally give up, the thing that you want arrives. Have you ever heard of that? It's you've probably experienced that in your life. It's the same thing. You just need to go like, okay, you don't have to necessarily give up and be sad about it, but just, okay, I'm going to redirect energy. And then in that moment or shortly thereafter, oftentimes what you want arises. So that's like that's what I use. I think that's what people are missing in their manifestation process. They try to go there so much with their mind and ego, and then they do. And they're human beings. We need to be the vibration and feel it versus do.
Yeah. That's been my motto lately. Do less, just be more, is because there's simplicity and just like, it's really powerful to just be and like exist within your own existence. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes.
But just be in your body, be in your feelings, like feel yourself, be alive.
How do you be? How do you be?
I idle. Like it's really hard to do nothing is because I come from a type A field, right? Hospitality. I'm planning like my brain's like 80 tabs all at once. I still struggle with that. But now lately I think my manifestation blocks actually comes from that exact thing that you just said. Is the ability to see all of these tabs, to try all of the tabs, knowing that my body needs to do nothing and just kind of allow and like surrender and just to receive. But I'm right there to where I can't because I can't let go of that control. And I understand the power of manifestation. I understand like how energy works, but my mind is still blocked at that very singular moment, right? To
let go.
In the quantum field, it's like that directional points. I'm right there. It's because I know what I need to do. I just need to physically do it.
What do you need to do?
Just to let it go.
You need to let it go.
Just let go. Like let go of the control and like the need to feel like I have everything in order. And that surrender, that idle, it's a sweet spot. It's like the ability to do nothing. And I think when you brought up like how meditation is kind of like this awkward word or whatever, it's because people are expecting meditation to solve problems for them, to like not think about anything. But I think for me, meditation, how it's helped me with like anxiety and depression is just witnessing my thoughts come and seeing what's really within my mind. It's because people can't really sit still with themselves and kind of go to a place to see those 98 tabs, and how do you get 98 down to 17, down to 3, down to like 1.5, and then just being there with that very important thing and just letting it go. And that's breath work. That's a lot of meditative process. That's really powerful. Like it hurts. Like sometimes you sit there and you're like, why do I feel this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
To circumvent that, it's stepping into presence. So meditation is, how I describe it, is it's the exercise in which to help you get to the point of being able to be present in wakeful life. So like meditation is conditioning. It's like the training. It is very therapeutic. It's very helpful for all the things that people use them for, like stress reduction and for connecting with spiritual things, all the things, but it's also very good training to just get you to be able to, in a conscious state, when you're sitting with someone, be able to be fully present where you can be in yourself and listen to the other person and be an observer. So in that state, nothing else exists. You're totally present. There is no talk. There's no subconscious bullshit. There's no chatter. You're just being and you're observing. It's like a wakeful meditation is how I describe it. So that's where we all need to be, is in this. And, lots of gurus talk about it. But until you practice or you've actually have your first moment where you like are in the present, that moment is just like, holy shit, it's so fucking cool. Because you're like, nothing, there was none of that mind chatter. Like everything was quiet. Oh my God, what happened? It's like those 80 tabs just poof, they just went away. And I was just being, And in that stillness, in that like presence, magic happens. Like that's when you get that divine inspiration and that idea hits, or like you run into someone or whatever. Like that is real living. That's what people are missing.
Yeah.
So meditation is great and all the things, blah, 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 whatever. We have a hard time doing it. I try and teach people to do more, like to get past that, because people are so ADD these days, which is fine. It's cool. Like whatever, there's so much coming at us. We just have to find another way around doing the stillness. So I have people do like on their bike, if they're like exercising, do a moving meditation. Like I used to do that, like where I would listen to a guided meditation. I'd be on my bike and I'd be like literally at the Lifetime or wherever I was going. And I'd be on like the bike, the stationary bike, and I'd be listening to this guided meditation. I'd be lost in it. And like all of a sudden the thing would be off and I'm like, holy shit, it's been 39 minutes. My body was moving. I wasn't even aware. I was so in it. So training your body to be able to do two things at once is a good way to do it. So walking in the park and, listening to some beautiful music, or listening to the birds chirping, or focusing on the wind blowing through the trees, and just practicing presence, and stop with the meditation. Just cut through the bullshit and just practice being like connecting with movement and alertness, and focusing on one thing while you're awake. That's going to be the easiest way, because then when you can do that, you're going to be able to, again, not have to go into meditation, because people will use it as an escapism. I did it. Oh, my spiritual awakening, my fucking life fell apart. And I was like, oh my God, this world is so scary. Shit just happens to you. Like,
I have so many feelings.
I don't know what's happening. Like there's 500 carpets underneath me and they're all being pulled out. I'm like, I don't know what is underneath that, but I think it's hell, because it's getting hot and my life is getting so scary. And oh my God. So I would meditate for like 6 hours a day, like in 3-hour chunks, just and having all these crazy out of body experiences. I'm like, yes, I want to live in this space of no body and no scariness.
6 hours?
Yeah, three and three. Yeah, for sure. I did that for a good solid couple of weeks. Wow. It was just, life got really scary. So I totally was spiritually escaping with meditation. So you can use it in very not healthy ways. And so when you're like all in your head and like life's all beautiful and whatever, life falls apart, because you have to be in your body. You can't be up here all the time. You have to be in your physical body. So I've stopped teaching the meditation and going up to come down, because people go up and they're like, oh, this is so nice. Why do I want to come down? And it's like, dude, call me in 6 months when your life is a shit show, and then I'll tell you why, because we'll have a number of reasons of exactly what you did wrong. Trust me, I've done them all. So let's not go up to come down. Let's merge them all and bridge them together. So, walking meditations, or just, it's about being present. We want people to just be present. That's the key in the way. That's the key to yourself. That's the key to that silence, that when you have those moments of stillness. So when I was very much in the spiritual community and I had like my crazy time when I had a bottle of pills in my hands and I was like, I guess I'm going to do this shit. In that stillness, because I had practiced so much meditating, in that stillness, I used to say, in the stillness, the word of God speaks. And I don't say God anymore. That's a taboo word. And I don't really, talk about spirituality. But really in that moment, I heard the words, whoever it came from, God, myself, alien, I don't know, whatever, whoever spoke to me, whatever it was divine. And it just resonated like, you don't have to do this. There's a better way. And so when you connect in that moment of stillness, where I was like, holy shit, like this is real. Everything just shut down. I just remember feeling open. Everything went quiet and I was still. And in those moments, so that was a very, very pivotal moment in my life. Like I was going to exit, or like I had to get in my body and start making shit happen. So in that still moment, I saved my life. In that still moment, I got some real fucking advice. Like, okay, it felt real, it felt good, and I could follow through. So in the present moment, all of the answers are there. We have them all inside of us. Even if that answer is go call a friend. In my case, it was pick up the phone and call your mom that you haven't spoken to in a year. It was, fuck, I have to make that phone call, And so you do it. And then it's like, oh shit, things start happening. So here is where everything starts and everything is created and all the answers are. And it's all about just presence, not meditation, but start with that still presence, breathing, however people want to do it. But connect in a wakeful state is what I would do.
How long ago was your spiritual awakening?
Started end of 2016-ish, after I separated from my ex-husband. And it was about 6 months after that. Yeah.
So it took you to like what you would call rock bottom too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I hit way rock bottom.
Yeah.
I met someone who was doing some really horrible, shady things. I was working with him in a clinic. And it became very toxic and unhealthy and abusive. And then I had the feds knocking on my door.
No way.
I was indicted.
For
You're
what?
coming with us, lady. So it was for he had this scheme going on, like this it wasn't just a kickback scheme. It was like he was selling narcotics and doing this whole. It was a big, huge thing that he was.
Wow, like a whole ring.
It was a huge ring that started like, I think, in the East Coast, and it all, I guess, got illuminated. I heard all this like way after the fact from some guy in the ring getting murdered or something. I don't know, whatever. It was very crazy and weird. And then it was just like this big old crazy trickle down effect.
Yeah.
So, but no, in the middle of that, having met this individual and just going through all the trauma and separating from my parents and the trouble I had with my ex and raising my 2 kids, it was just all of a sudden, it was time. I've been wanting this. I've known that I was supposed to awaken since for as little as I could remember. I knew when I was 5, I had to do something really, really big and important. I was always fascinated with the metaphysical. I had like really crazy, wild, blissed out experiences when I was a teen. I started meditating. I tried channeling, spirits, like all this stuff when I was like a preteen, teen. I started Zen meditating when I was like 14.
Trying to go to the 5th dimension.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm like Zen meditating, like the most Buddhist book and the most abstract I'm reading and making no sense. I'm like, okay, I'll try to picture black. I'll try to picture black behind my eyeballs. I was like, I actually did pretty well considering I was 14 and I had a crazy, wild, anxious mind. It was actually pretty cool. But so I've been like I was prepping for this for a long, long time. And so it was like several years of just crazy ups and downs and all this stuff. And so now I'm like on the other side of so I know ascension never ends and people may challenge me on this, but my major ascension is over. The part where I'm over the dark night of the soul is done. So I call that like stage 2. Stage 1 is like the prep work where we're like interested and we go like run naked in front of the moon and we're into zodiacs and astrology and all those fun things that like make us feel connected. Those are all important. And, and we're trying to meditate. And then we get like shit gets real. And we're like, we have like all the chakra experiences and all the wild things and like the existential crisis. And we get to the other side and we're like, okay, I'm awake. Now what do I do as a being that's aware of energy and blah, blah, blah. So I'm on this expansion phase. And this is where I was telling you, I'm kind of like, I'm very integrated with my sort of more authentic, higher self, if you will, and continuing to expand. I'm like in the expansion phase and I'm like life hacking my physical body. That's like this part. I'm all about living forever, defying the physical aging process.
Okay.
Life hacking my physical body.
Yeah. How does that look like for you? What are you doing for your cells?
For myself, well,
are you doing it on a molecular level or are you doing it on like a organ, blood vessel?
Yeah. So I speak with my body a lot. Like I have a lot of intention, right? Because everything is inside. So I use a lot of just language with myself. And that's very different than what other people experience in the Western world. Like, I don't want to age. I don't believe that I have to age. We know that we don't have to age. There's a lot of people that don't age and that can reverse age. So I don't subscribe to that. I've just separated myself from those belief systems, not just in my mind, but in my consciousness. I just don't agree with them. So I experiment. I'm like a mad scientist, right? So I'm always go all in with what I'm doing. So when I believe in something, I just go in and I know that these things happen, that everything happens from our consciousness. So I want to, at minimum, slow my aging, if not arrest it or reverse it. So I'm playing with the power of my consciousness and harnessing the power of my mind to separate myself from those constructs and see what happens. I've done pretty well, I think. I mean, even before these other modalities that have come into place, but now I'm doing more physical things. The diet that kind of came into my life, shout out to Lorenzo for throwing me into it. The carnivore diet has been super, super crazy for me. Shit got real for me with this. Like I came into really my full wholeness, and it was like this crazy, amazing sort of arrival. And then I started doing this carnivore diet, which is basically eating fat and meat, and that's it. It's like the lion's diet has completely changed my physiology, my mood, things that I wasn't even expecting to happen. All I wanted was to stop fighting with my physical body because I had all these sugar cravings. And since I was a girl, I did ballet and all of these, I was very athletic, and I always wanted sugar. I could not stop sugar. And sugar is like, it's the worst thing in the world. It is so evil.
It's an addiction.
It is. It's so evil. It's so destructive to the body on every level. Any like carbohydrates are just so bad. And I wanted to just not fight. I wanted to be at peace with my physical body because there was peace inside. I finally found peace in my mind from all of the mental struggles I went through. It's like, it's time for me to manifest this in my physical body. So this carnivore diet came up and I'm like, oh shit, that sounds good. Okay. If I understood that when I would have sugar cravings, when I would eat a ton of fat, like a big fatty steak, I wouldn't have sugar cravings for 3-4 days. I remember telling my friend who we have sugar addictions, we literally for 8 years, when we'd see a new package of candy on the shelf, we wouldn't talk to each other for sometimes months. We'd take a fucking picture of the sugar candy and we'd send it to the other. Oh my God, I'm trying this tonight. I'll let you know how it is. We were gonna over the pandemic, we were gonna start like a podcast or a YouTube channel reviewing candies. Like that's how bad it got. Dude. Yeah. No, we were like whores for candy. It's like pay us in candy. It was horrible. Like we love the candy. But I would tell him, I'm like, okay, you need to eat more fats. And he's a muscle competitor too. So I did bikini muscle competitions. And so I'm like, we just need to eat more fat. Eating peanut butter. I would eat nut butter as my main butter and clean chicken. That is so under fat. So I'm like, that's the reason why I did this, was because I just wanted to not fight my body. And I wanted to start seeing, I felt like the first step to me being able to heal my body and heal the inflammation, because I get bloated guts and a little bit more mood stability too. I wanted more clarity because my memory wasn't always so good, and hormone regulation too, because my hormones were a little bit off and you need fat. So I'm like, this makes fucking sense. Okay, there's some research, although people think it's problematic. Let me tell you, I'm not going to get too graphic on the camera.
Get graphic.
I can get graphic. Okay. I heard you've only talked about blowjobs. We're going to talk about like all of the bodily functions. So on your show. So, no, for real, like the parasites that came out were intense and awful. Like,
really?
Yes. So I know people don't always believe in parasites.
Yeah.
No, this is for real. The stuff that I passed after the first couple of days when the sugar cravings stopped, literally the stuff that came out of me was, and again, I'm a scientist, I'm a researcher, I'm a nurse practitioner, so I've had my fingers in more vaginas and assholes and people's poops than I would care to share. So looking at the toilet was not a big deal for me. But oh my God, the stuff that I would see was repulsive. And parasites are consciousness too, right? And so it was so crazy that as I was passing this, my clarity was happening. I could observe my thoughts better. Like the mind jargon shit that used to just go by unnoticed. I'm like, whoa, what is that? No, we're not thinking that. What the fuck are you guys all thinking? Yeah. No, we're not doing any of that. Like my awareness is on point and my memory has gotten better already. And I also passed a kidney stone. Apparently the oxalates from all the vegetables and the nuts and all the things that I would eat were building up. And then as I was not having the oxalates, it was shrinking and it passed through. And I was in LA at a milonga because I ate Argentine tango. In the middle of it, I bent over and my God, my insides are being torn apart. Go to the bathroom, I pee, nothing happens, just excruciating burning. I go sit down like 2 minutes later. I'm bent over. I had to go back. Nothing came out except all of a sudden I'm dripping blood. And then I feel like the scratching. And then I'm like, I felt like relief, like the spasm was done. And then I was just like in pain. And then it subsided, all of it subsided. And so I'm like researching, like, what the fuck happened? I'm in LA. I don't know what to do.
What the fuck kind of UTI is this?
Yeah, I'm like, wow, what toilet seat did I sit on that I got this raging of a UTI? No, you can't get a UTI from this. It sounds funny, but you can't. So no, it just passed. So then I'm reading about it and chatting with people, and they're like, no, this is like what happened, the oxalates. And I started peeing like swirly white in my urine. It's just, my body was completely decompressing and chelating, like getting rid of all the garbage. And now so I'm like 3 weeks on it now, and I don't have the aches and pains. Like all of the things that I read, like that I was like, I don't care about that, whatever. I'm sleeping, muscle pain, whatever. It's like, I just don't want to fight my body with sugar. I don't want to be a sugar whore anymore. I don't want to be like secretly eating candy at night, and hiding sugar wrappers for my kids when I'm telling them don't eat sugar. And so I don't eat sugar anymore because I don't have everything. After everything died, I don't have that pull anymore. And, but all the other benefits that other people have, I have now. I'm like, oh shit, that's right. I'm going back and reading. I'm sleeping solid. Like literally, I will eat I ate a pound of brisket yesterday, and it was amazing. And I eat butter. I remember getting shamed by my mother. I was under the table eating butter with my finger, like fingering the butter into my mouth under the table. Get out from under there. Put the butter back on the table. You're not supposed to eat that. It's so bad for you. My 6-year-old knew I needed to do that. I eat butter for breakfast.
Yeah.
I eat butter and meat, and I'm like, eating the cartilage out of the fucking chicken bones.
Yeah. That's the best part.
And it's so good, and I feel so satiated. And I've lost weight, not trying. Like I said, my mood is better. My hormones are regulating, and all these awesome benefits. So already my body is detoxing and clearing, and it's like I feel like I'm at this reset point. So to answer your question in a short version, is the diet is really important, and being able to really have a clear, calm body. See, I have calm and peace in my heart. I have calm and peace in my mind. And my body is calm. My digestion is calm. My sleep is calm. Everything is calm. Like I used to sit in this twilight sleep for an hour or two where I would use for meditation. It really was my struggle falling asleep. Now, when I go to bed, like before I go to bed, I have to eat food. I literally except last night, I was super wired. But usually when I eat my meals, I'm just like, I can barely get my head on the pillow, and then I'm like passed out. That's not ever happened. So this calmness in my body is really, really the beginning part of what I'm doing to life hack. After that, physically, it's going to be all the peptides. It's going to be NAD. It's going to be, I'm starting to do IVs at my clinic on myself. I used to do them a lot. So I'm going to be pushing more of that. I'm not really big into stem cells or any of that kind of thing. I don't think I need those outside pieces to help my physiology. But the supplementation and the gut-brain access are like very, very important first things that I needed to work on, and that other people need to work on if they're wanting to really life hack their body into longevity.
Yeah. So I think that comes with like magnesium and zinc deficiency too, that a lot of people are lacking, right? And having the ability to break down the protein structure, since you're eating so much meat, it takes a different chemical in your body. What's his name? I heard of his story. Was it Tony Horton? Has like a new supplement or something like that. It's like synthesized with B3 vitamin and like some other thing, to where he lost his body, like all of his muscle mass. Is it scarsopenia or something like that? It's just like your muscles just deteriorating. Anyways, but that's something I'm going to send you to look at to see if that's like a realistic thing. It's because, I geek out on certain like protein synthesis and peptides and all of that stuff too. Yeah, peptides. So I didn't do so much in the clinic that I was in. I'm starting to look at them. I definitely know the utility. I know people that have used them in the clinics and whatnot. So that's probably what I'll look at dabbling into.
but maybe I won't need to, because if I can really harness my own conscious power to regenerate, I may not need them, but I'm always up for, as we learn, because this is all uncharted territory, us being able to control our physiology once we step into understanding our consciousness and harnessing the power of our mind, anything is really possible. We can manifest anything physically. Why can't we manifest anything physically in our body? But I do believe that sometimes we need crutches, just like we need a little Botox or filler for now to like keep our faces looking good, right? Yep. Until we can get to a certain place where maybe we don't need that. So there's supplements. Minerals are really the biggest thing people don't realize that they're deficient of. Vitamins, everyone talks about vitamins. I'm taking a multi. It's like the main thing. The minerals are where people need to be like focusing. If they don't know anything about minerals, they're in a big trouble. Like get on trace minerals yesterday, because that will begin to gently chelate your body, giving yourself, go under the recommendation of a practitioner when you're taking these things, but you want to take at least your daily dose. You can even push it a little bit higher, again, under the discretion of your practitioner. This is not medical advice. Disclaimer, not medical advice. But you can actually start pushing off some of those chemicals that we've taken on and start chelating your body and allowing your cells to regenerate and replicate more normal again. So minerals, like super, super, super important.
Yeah, especially antioxidants, anti-inflammatories to push out like the heavy metals.
The heavy metals are everywhere. Yeah. We're showered with jet fuel every day, especially right here in Vegas. We're absorbing that in our skin. We're inhaling. It's like all over us. We need to be constantly mineralizing ourselves and hypermineralizing to bump that shit off of us, because it's leading to our deterioration. So, and no one's eating purely organic, but even organic food doesn't have the nutrients we need in it anyways, because the soil doesn't have it. You can, even if you're eating vegetables, cauliflower, what minerals are you really getting from that shit anymore when the soil has like nothing in it? Organic, fine, you're not getting the pesticides, but are you even getting what your nutrition, the nutritional value out of it? No.
How do you feel about the water here in Vegas? Speaking about mineralize and reverse osmosis, Kangen.
Chlorine is the next evil next to sugar. And I just don't like drinking any water that has chlorine, anything in it. So whether it's Vegas water or any water, I don't drink anything with chlorine in it.
So how do you drink your water?
I used to have a really high-end filtration system. I get water. I just buy water from somewhere, or I'll get filtered water, or I'll filter my own. But I don't like how in the US we use chlorine to clean our water. It's so funny. I went with my kids yesterday to the Discovery Museum, and it said, big, huge sign, this water is cleaned with chlorine every day from 1 to 3, and it runs through the water system. This kills viruses and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, so you're advertising that chlorine in the water kills viruses. It's that strong to kill an organism. And we are okay as a population to be consuming that in our water.
Yeah. Knowing that we're 70% water too.
And knowing that it can destroy tissue like a living organism, like a virus and parasites and whatever. It's just, I don't want to put that in my mouth. I like to put a lot of things in my mouth, but I don't like to put chlorine in my mouth.
Like ghost cock?
Sure. Yes. Like meat and butter and those things.
I'm gonna take you up on that, because sometimes I know it's like a really carnivore craving too. Like I love a good steak, like well seasoned, just like a pound of it, right? Because how does your diet look like? So you eat a pound of meat a day?
I know. I was in one sitting.
Okay.
No, because I was hungry, I didn't eat all day. When you eat an enormous amount of fat, you satiate very quickly.
Okay.
So I will pound 2 big ribs. I can usually only pound 2 ribs, and then I'm like pretty done. I ate a whole pound of brisket in front of my kids. I was like, no, this is all for me. You eat your own food. You know,
You're like Schmeagol.
Like Schmeagol. This is my precious. Totally. I'm like, you have your brisket burger. You're not carnivore yet. This is all for me, children. I was totally, but no, I was very, very hungry. So I put like a pound of the brisket back. No, I'll just like, I had bacon and eggs this morning. I had, I think, a rib and a big beef rib and I don't know, however much brisket I had. And I'll probably have some pork ribs or something before bed. I don't know. I'm full. Like I ate, the fat satiates you and all the protein satiates you. So you don't like, I don't have to eat every 3 hours. If I have a big meal at nighttime, I won't want to eat till sometimes 2 the next day. Like I'll just do an intermittent fasting. I don't believe in intermittent fasting just because I'm so full. I have so much nutrients. You get so much nutrients from all of this stuff, from the skin and the cartilage and all of the
collagen.
The real shit that we're buying powders for. Like I
refuse to pay for that shit, dude.
Those collagen peptide shit. We were just talking about this today. I'm like, what do you think about collagen peptides? I have a fucking jar of it. Yeah. I guess I'll use it because I paid like $900 for a fucking vat of it. I should have just eaten ribs. I probably got more in one rib than I have in like 4 cups of that shit. Yeah. But whatever. I mean, I'll use it.
Yeah, but you see how fucking Western culture commercializes something like an ingredient that's in nature in the food you eat, and sell it back to you at a fucking premium, and it's processed as shit, so you're not really getting technically everything you're supposed to get anyways. Right. Yeah. Fucked up.
Well, and it's crazy because this is like a new thing, a new realization. So I'm not speaking as an expert. I'm just speaking from a scientist going through an experiment with myself. But this has fucked me up in such a good way. Like this is an experiment that has gone way better than I could have ever expected. I just wanted 1.5 things from this and I got like 8. Like this is mind blowing and I feel so good. And like I dropped weight. I'm not even trying. I'm like, Jesus, like when your body gets fat, it's so simple. When your body gets fat, it doesn't have to hold on to the brown fat. It's just going to like get rid of it because it knows it's getting some. It's that starvation mode thing, right? I was just starving it. So I was trying. It's like, I know this bitch ain't going to give me fat, so I'm going to tell her to eat sugar, you know? So I was craving sugar, and it's now like I totally switched. My body's like, okay, she finally learned. We don't want sugar. We don't need sugar. We just want fat. And so everything is just operating. My brain, my hormones, like my sleep, like everything is falling into place. So it's a cool phenomena. It's maybe not for everyone. I know it's not Western medicine kosher. Like Western medicine wants to eat the vegetables and all of the things, but there's more research coming out on carnivore diet and the long-term effects. And, you know, they try and scare you about the high cholesterol and what can happen. But if you don't have the sugar sticking to the fat, how are you going to get a clogged artery? When we're literally shredding and losing weight, I don't understand how you can look like chiseled and die of a heart attack. I've never seen that personally, unless someone's had a heart defect. That's not what a person with a heart attack looks like. So, you know what I mean? It's the information that we have as a population is just very one way. I'm not going to say it's the wrong way because I don't want to get shot. Don't feel like getting shot. Nope. But there are other ways that might work. And I found one that's really pretty phenomenal. And I'm very skeptical of everything. Like I downplayed this. I'm like, maybe this is coincidental, whatever. Like objectively, this has been pretty wild. So if I recommend something, I would recommend someone to try it if they are under the advisement of a practitioner. I wouldn't necessarily have somebody. It's not medical advice.
I'm just going to take an advice from a friend.
Yes, I'm giving you advice friend to friend, not medical advice.
Not medical advice.
No, this is unlicensed territory. I'm speaking as an unlicensed person, as a friend. Exactly. I would recommend you as my friend. You should give it a try.
Thank you.
And I will share whatever wisdom I have with you. Yeah,
that's good. I think that's an alignment on your transformation too, because you're talking about that, working through your evolution of self and like spirit and now healing, right? And all the modality. And I wouldn't even think it comes from a carnivore diet.
It's the exact opposite. It's so funny. I had this conversation too, because I was so plant-based a long time ago. My son gave me shit. He's like, are you still vegan? I'm like, firstly, son, I never was vegan. Thank you. I was low protein. I did supplement with some tofu, but I love him. Love him to pieces. He busts my balls all the time. But no, I was like very plant-based for a long time, and it made me feel good. And that's what you're supposed to do in the spiritual community. And then I just like, as I was starting to like bridge back into my body and having to bridge, okay, so Leslie, your purpose is to bridge the gap for people between where they are, where they need to go. And I had to go from one fucking hell all the way up to escapism to figure out, oh, okay, I know how to bridge this so that you don't have to get all screwed up on your path. I can just like help you along the bridge. Here we go, nice and gentle. And when I started to understand that that's my role here, is to be this sort of, helping people live their mastery and have this total transformation and their interconnection, their mind and their physical body. I started to eat more meat and more meat and more meat. And like I said, I was intending, I want to step into this higher sort of octave of myself, and I want to life hack my physical body or body hack my way to longevity. This sort of diet fell into my lap, and it's kind of been like, okay, this is next level. It's totally not at all what I expected. Meat. But apparently, some people have said it's like the Christ consciousness diet. It's like what the the lions eat. It's what we originally came from. It's part of. It's like actually the divine way of eating. It's what we as humans were eating before we had to. Before there was no meat, and we had no choice but to start making bread and eat vegetables. Like we had to start eating them because there just wasn't enough to go around with the population. So it's not really natural. It's not really natural.
I'm going to get a steak after this.
Yeah. With a shit ton of butter on it.
Fuck ton of butter.
And salt. You got to salt the shit out of that bitch. Exactly. So, and it all makes sense. It's like where I came into my consciousness, what I've been intending, what I was trying to manifest. And this diet comes in and it just bubbled me up. I'm like, oh, it's right. My gut, my intuition is telling me this is right. It must be right. Whether it's truly the lion's diet, whether the facts of where it came from, doesn't matter. To me, it's right. To me, I know it's right. It resonates with me. It all aligns with what I'm wanting to do. And obviously I experimented. It's giving me more than I expected. It's right. So it's right for me. In alignment with what I'm trying to create and with what I'm doing for my path. Maybe it's not for everybody. Maybe plant-based is better, but for me, what I'm creating, what my soul wants to do, this shit is for real, and it's for me.
As long as you feel good in your body, you should just honor it.
The fight is done.
The fight is done.
Like the sugar cravings, my body's like, it's at peace. Like I'm finally, like
I'm home.
Like,
That's the best feeling, right?
My body's like, it took you this long. How old are you? God, you're slow. But at least we arrived here, So it's like I finally have this peace. So it's very beautiful. I'm very grateful that I've been able to create that in my life.
Vessel got tired of carrying you through all this fucking traumatic shit.
Really? I know. And I have to, we have one body, and I really try and treat my body like a temple and take care of it as best I can. And now that, I put it through so much stress, going through what I went through, and it's really time to honor it and honor it because it's a part of me, but because really I want to be an example for other people, and I want to create impossible things for myself and then share them with other people. If it works for me, it might work for them. I may not know everything. We're always evolving. There's always new levels of things to unlock. But I'm a little crazy like that. So I'm in this ride to figure out what works and what maybe doesn't.
I think that was the attunement of how we met. Like we weren't, like, I think it didn't just like, you know what I'm saying? Like our frequency just didn't pass each other that one day without it being a connection.
Yes. We sat down, we chatted for a little bit. I think we were just bullshitting. It wasn't even anything important.
It wasn't anything.
It was
important.
super like froofy, not froofy, not fluffy, but like just totally like 3-dimensional, like
fucking random shit.
Like just bullshitting. We're just bullshitting like two, Summerlin girls. you know?
Yeah.
And we have, but there's
and look
something
at this
more
transpires of like energy of how the frequency of attunement like we're on now, right?
Yeah.
That's why I think it's really powerful that once you kind of do the work and once you're in your divine and my divine and like we're in our higher self, that's how we kind of connect to each other too.
Yes.
Because you can't talk to everyone about this kind of stuff.
I know.
You know, resources, knowledge, beliefs.
Yeah, I didn't even...
Ideologies, whatever.
Right. It's so funny because I texted you like, an hour before. I'm like, and what are we talking about on your podcast today? Like,
I was
real
like,
estate.
bitch, if I knew.
And you're like, whatever, these are kind of the topics or these are what the genres. I'm like, okay, this is kind of what I do. And you're like, okay, that sounds cool. And I'm like, I had no idea that you had your existential crisis and all these things. Like I need to have you on my podcast. And we need to talk about your shit and get into it. I mean, we can share each other, like, because it gets,
emotional constipation is real. It's that, you know, we're free.
Yeah, it feels so good. And it's so great because there's so many. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to like turn the table a little bit. Being a beautiful woman in this town. There it is.
God.
That's all you have to say. Thank you for the validation. Right? You're seen for one thing and you're like, there's so much inside.
Yeah.
You don't even know. You don't even see, you don't even know.
Yeah.
What's that like for you, your experience? Like when you're in your space, it doesn't matter. Like the people outside don't matter and you don't really get reflected back to you, people who come at you. You know, like what's that song back in like the Scrubs? I don't want no scrub. The Scrubs, the guy that, you know, whatever. Oh my God, that's so throwback.
Yeah.
But what is it like for you being beautiful in this town of all of the crazy, you know, men and energy and things and beings and like what's been your experience?
I just don't think I attract that kind of energy. It's because I think that was the ego part of me in my 20s because I was a bartender. So that's all I attracted. And it definitely shifted the way I looked at myself is that validation through just using the shell to get validation, right? Exactly what you're saying. It's just people only see you for the shell and like no one really gives a fuck who you are, your intelligence, morals, ethics, like anything that matters for fuck's sake, right? Like if everything was to be dissolved and like, you know, looks fade and all of that stuff. But to be transparent, it's just, I don't think people see beauty in the light that it should be seen.
Right.
It's like the beauty's in the soul. It's like the character and the values of a person, not the fucking skin bag, right? And we spend a lot of time kind of chasing that validation too. And I myself can speak highly of that. It's because I think I was bullied as a kid, so I never saw myself as like a beautiful person or girl or, you know, and I was always chasing to be the popular girl or doing all of these things to get external validation. And I never felt worthy of myself until after my existential crisis is that I saw myself from like the shit that I had to go through. And I saw that it's not from a point of judgment in like other women, right? Because everyone's beauty in their own way. And everyone just kind of goes through different phases, kind of like how you brought up like the dark night of the soul. But sometimes you ask yourself, you're like, is it just me going through this shit or like, how bad are other people's shit?
Yes.
You know, or is my shit this bad?
Yeah.
Like, does it take you to the point of like, almost like you said, like finding an exit? Like, is the exit, you know, like a self-inflicted exit, the only way I can get out of this?
Right.
Or how do you bounce back from that? And I think that was the true beauty of the moment that I felt bliss was when I got out of that.
Right.
Bliss is the word.
Yes.
You know, it's peace, you know. And so I just don't think people, they take it for granted because they only kind of see you for the shell. And not a lot of people want to validate you for your soul because they can only go as deep as they are within themselves.
Sure.
And you can't really be a magnet for that, you know. So I repel a lot of people is because authenticity isn't really for everyone. So that's how I answer it, you know.
Right. And that's so beautiful. And that's how I feel it. And that's how it used to be where I would get so much of that. And then there's a time when things shifted. I'm like, oh, I don't really get any of that anymore. Like I just had realized, I'm like, oh, I don't really get that kind of bullshit, which is beautiful. But it's very interesting. I've pondered this, why I being, you know, in this sort of more enlightened state, if you will, more awake state, I should say. Why I'm here in this city where there's so much heaviness and maybe there's like you were drawn here. There's more of us that are coming here. I think maybe it's to, you know, lighten up this place.
Yeah.
But man, there was a while, I mean, I've been here 17 years. there's been a lot of darkness. Man, there's a lot of dark underbelly to this place. But I mean, that's what we're here for. We're slowly trying to radiate and help people through their processes too, I guess. But it's a very interesting place to be in this city. And but at the same time, it's fun because we can, being pretty, you know, we know who we are, but we can also play with our outside because we can't deny our physical appearance. We are physical beings, and that's important, especially with the things that we want to do, being podcast hosts and doing all the things that we want to do. There is a place for that, and it's okay. It's just if you don't want to identify with it and try to achieve through just the outside. You use it as an accessory, like you put on an earring. You know, the outside is just sort of a nice sort of zhuzhing of, you know, you zhuzh yourself to just give yourself a little bit of an edge. Like, you know, guys will do their hair, girls, we just kind of pretty ourselves up, but we don't make our existence about it. There's a lot of the opposite of that here. So
I think that's where a lot of females maybe are still stuck. It's just at the superficial level of who they are.
Right.
And only validating themselves as much as they look. That's it, you know. It's kind of sad to say. I'm not saying like we're here to change the collective shift or opening up the mindset of like being comfortable in your own skin. Because, you know, it took me 33 years to understand that fully. Yeah. Right. So it's definitely work. It's inner work, shadow work, reparenting work, you know, all of that.
Yeah. And they all have choice. You know, we can be lights. We can hold the energy or space for them just by being in our space. But they absolutely need to make the choice that we have no control over. Yeah. You know, it's like that saying, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Right. So as enough of us kind of come together and shine our light, hopefully they will just finally be in front of the water one day and they'll be thirsty enough that they will just choose to drink. Yeah. But friend Matt, like right before this, he was talking about like change overall through sobriety and all of that stuff too. And he's just like, the first step is awareness. Second step is the decision. And then from now on, like the third thing is just being intentional. Yes. So I think that's just what we are, is consciously like intentional with who we want to be from now on. And, like that's the people we attract, and that's it. That is so beautiful. Intention is really, it's everything. Once you know that you have that choice, once you know you can intend and you can just do that intention, everything that I do, I try to do from a place of conscious intention. I don't just want to do something because, you know, like, yes, it feels right. I'll do it, but I'm doing it because it feels right. The intention is I'm aligning with something that I want. And this is obviously aligning with one of the intentions that I had. But I try to operate all of the time from a place of intention. When I speak, I try to speak with intention. I intend with an underlying reason with as much clarity as possible. Yeah. That's a really great point. Yeah. Live life by design, not by default, right? Yes. Yeah. That's taking back that's empowering. It's power to empower. Yeah. You know, that is, you have the ability, the power to create what you intend to. Yeah. Yeah. It's great. Damn, how did we go from ghost cock to empowerment? Spirituality. Wow. Damn, we went deep. We did. That ghost cock went deep, dude. And we're back. And we're back to our fucking shit show. The spirits have left the building and we're back. Yes. It's cute. It's funny. So fun. But this is real. Yeah. You know, and it's funny because the last podcast I spoke on, you know, I have my fan base. They're like, oh my God, Dr. Leslie, you are so real. Like you talk about everything and you swear and you're like joke about sexuality and you talk, but we still are real. Just because we are awake, we're not prudes. Like this is humor. You have to laugh. You have to poke fun at our own humanity. We have to joke around. Yeah. I mean, I'm a jokester. Yep. You can't be too serious. I used to be so fucking serious. It created anxiety. Yeah. It's like, no, this is my pathway, being human and real. It's funny and it's you know, like this is real, I think, you know, being just crazy girl talk, authentic. Whatever. It's it is. Like I honor that humility actually. People kind of, I feel like they envy us or something because a lot of people can't be themselves. Right.
It's like they're holding in a fart like all the time. Like, dude, like relax, you know? Like, what the fuck? Relax.
Right.
Like, go a little bit, you know, like loosen up.
For
like how's
sure.
your jaw? You know, they're so tight.
Yeah. I know when I was a nurse practitioner for so long, I just hated that I couldn't be myself in public. Like I had this title. It's like I had this label on me and I just was like, oh my God, get it off, because I felt like I couldn't be me. I couldn't. And now it's like I'm so myself and I'm not in the traditional setting and all the things. I just get to be me. I can talk spiritually. I can talk about science. I can talk about, you know, crazy passing parasites and fecal matter and, you know, ghost cock and whatever else. And it's all in the same wheelhouse. It's all the same. We're real humans. These are all part of our experience and our knowledge base. It's not like one is better. Oh my God, I can't believe she said she can't be spiritual or awake when she talks like that. You don't get it. Yeah. It's about authenticity and connecting inwards. It's not what you say or how you say it. You have to wear a monk's robe and, you know, have a bag of rocks and rub them or beads or whatever. I used to wear those beads all the time and they started sweating. And I was just like, get them off of me. I hate them. And it's like 100 and whatever degree weather. Yeah. They were so sacred to me. I'm like, I am it. I don't need the exterior things to remind me of who I am or what I am or whatever. So it's so great to find someone that's like me in that way, where you can just talk about everything. There's 2 of us now. Oh no, Vegas is going down. But no, this is so real. Yeah. So I honor you. Yeah, I honor your journal. Oh my God, hey, you took my fucking line, dude. Yes, can't even speak. But like, you know, I acknowledge you for being here today, fully present in your power. As your highest self, your goddess, your divine. Yes. Anything else? Is that like licking your vagina too much? Or what's going on, dude? A little bit. You can do a little bit on the backside. Oh, no, it's good. It's gonna bend over now. Flip it over. No, that's fine. Thank you. No, it feels so great to have been here with you and chat about all of the things and all of the craziness and all the important things. And hopefully your listeners got something very valuable out of today. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, that's it for us today. I hope you enjoy and took away something, you know, from Dr. Leslie. Or not. Or not. You can find me on IG at Tawni. Again, this is Fit and Frugal, and you can find her at The Next Level Podcast with Dr. Leslie. I'm on Spotify and all of the big platforms. You'll find me. Peace.